What's up, everybody? This is Caleb, your favorite Kung Fu fanatic. Welcome back to the official spin-off YouTube channel for Caleb's Kung Fu Cinema. Once again, it has been a few weeks since my last video, and I apologize once again. I'm getting back into a steady flow of doing videos. After this one goes up, I'm going to be posting. I'm going to be posting a couple more videos. I'm going to try to stagger the releases a little bit, but yeah, things have just been crazy with work, and I got some family coming in pretty soon, so we're gonna have like big visits going on and stuff like that. But yeah, we're back, and I have got a Blu-ray review for you guys today. Another reason I hadn't been posting any videos lately is because I was still waiting on my copy of a Skinny Tiger and Fatty Dragon, the new Blu-ray from Eureka Entertainment, and I'm still waiting on that. I haven't gotten it just yet. It's taking a little while, but hopefully it'll be here very soon. And that was just another reason I was really waiting for that Blu-ray so that I could do an unboxing for you guys. But now that I finally have some free time, I decided that I would use this while I'm waiting for the Blu-ray of Skinny Tiger and Fatty Dragon. I figured I'd use this time to do some more review videos for you guys, because I haven't really done a lot of those. I've only done one, which was on the Black Sheep Affair, also known as Another Meltdown. But today we're going to be doing something really big. I'm all Bruce Lee'd up, if that's the right wording to use here. I've channeled my inner Bruce Lee, if you will. I've got my shirt, and I've also got the really incredible Criterion Blu-ray box set, Bruce Lee, His Greatest Hits. Hell to the yes. I love this thing. I've actually had this for about 2 years now, and so I'm a little late to the party of reviewing it, but you know, you also got to remember that I've only been doing my podcast for about a year and a half now, and I've only been doing this channel for a couple of months. So yeah, that's why I'm just now getting to reviewing this, even though I've had it for quite some time. But this was my favorite release of 2020. I started doing the podcast like right at the very end of 2020, and this was one of the things that made me decide, okay, I can do a podcast and talk about martial arts films, because I've been focusing on a lot of other stuff, and but then when I saw that this was being released on Blu-ray, I was thinking, okay, wow, I need to get my hands on this. So yeah, I'm gonna sit here and just basically gush about it, because Bruce Lee, if anyone who listens to my podcast, they know Bruce Lee. He was a very inspiring person for me. When I was a little kid, that's where my journey with Kung Fu movies began. I was a little kid. My dad introduced me to Bruce Lee. He showed me Fist of Fury, which to this day is my favorite Bruce Lee film and one of my favorite Kung Fu movies of all time. It's hard to say, like, if you had asked me before I started doing the podcast what my favorite Kung Fu movie was, I would have immediately said Fist of Fury, mostly because of the nostalgia and because it's just a great movie. I think Fist of Fury is an excellent movie, but nowadays, since I've been doing the podcast, I think I'd have to think really hard about it, because I don't really know what my favorite Kung Fu movie is. It's really hard to pick, but I could definitely tell people some of my favorite ones. Fist of Fury is one of them. It still ranks pretty high on the list for me, even if I can't tell you even if nowadays I can't definitively tell you, what my favorite Kung Fu movie is. It's just too hard to pick. But yeah, this is a great box set. It's really important to me, and it's you know, and again, like I said, it's Bruce Lee is where Kung Fu movies began for me, and for a long time, I was just one of those guys who felt, you know, Kung Fu movies began and ended with Bruce Lee, but obviously that is not the case. I as a little kid, I thought that, and I was introduced very early on to Bruce Lee, but around that time, I was shortly after that, I was also introduced to guys like Jet Li and Jackie Chan, and while I loved them as a kid, I love them so much more now that I'm older and stuff like that. But as a kid, I thought they were great, but they weren't Bruce Lee. Like that's just, but I was a little kid. I was just very naive, you know. And so while I did think Jackie Chan and Jet Li were great, they weren't Bruce Lee, and it's not fair to say that nowadays, because they both became their own person. And I love both of them just as much as I love Bruce. There are times where I prefer something that there are times where I prefer that Jet Li or Jackie Chan did over something that Bruce did. So yeah, I'm older now and I see things differently, but this still like really does mean a lot to me. And yeah, I'm done gushing over it, so now I'm just gonna go ahead and talk about the Blu-ray itself. So yeah, this is Bruce Lee, His Greatest Hits. It was released by the Criterion Collection in 2020. Funny story, I remember seeing it on Amazon. It was available for pre-order. I did not pre-order this. I ordered it shortly after it was released, because whenever it was up on Amazon for pre-order, it was like $125. And I was thinking, wow, okay, I really like that box set. I want it, but I can't justify that price. I can't do it. But then shortly after it came out, the price dropped significantly to about $60. And they did the same thing. Criterion Collection recently released all the Once Upon a Time in China films with Jet Li and Vincent Zhao. And that was the same thing. It's currently on sale on Amazon for around $60, but the original retail price was, again, I think $125, just like this was. But when I saw that the price had dropped to $60 right after the release, I thought, okay, I need to get this now because it may not be that cheap ever again. So yeah, I got it right after it was released, and it got to me really quickly. I was super excited. I was like, I was just waiting and waiting for it to reach my doorstep. I was like that, you know, the skeleton you see in the memes, you know, they're just waiting for the Amazon package, just peeking out the window. That's kind of how I felt. But yeah, when it finally did get here, I was so happy. And by the way, this is before I got my region-free Blu-ray player. I now have one so that I can watch like all of my UK Blu-rays, stuff that's from '88 or Eureka or you know, or Arrow or something like that. This is Region A, so anybody who lives in the States, if you don't have a region-free Blu-ray player, if you watch just on a regular player that you buy at a store or on your PlayStation or your Xbox or whatever, this will work on that. So yeah, Region A. Just the overall presentation of this box set is fantastic. It looks great. It's got all of Bruce Lee's films. It's got Big Boss, Fist of Fury, Way of the Dragon, Enter the Dragon. It has both cuts of Enter the Dragon. It has the very rarely seen theatrical cut, as well as the extended edition. And it also has Game of Death and Game of Death 2, or Tower of Death. That's the unofficial sequel to the 1978 version of Game of Death, because as many of you know, Bruce Lee was filming Game of Death and didn't finish it because he sadly passed away. But the movie was picked back up some years later, and it turned out to be completely different than what Bruce had originally intended. But it also has all the original footage that Bruce shot for Game of Death before he passed away. It's a little over 30 minutes of footage, and it's great. You know, it's a window into what Bruce would have done with Game of Death. But unfortunately, yeah, I mean, we'll never see the finished product because it was never finished, obviously. But yeah, anyway, I'll go ahead and open this thing up for you guys. It's been open for years, but I'm going to show you guys what the disc looks like. And this is a pretty big set. So yeah, it folds like one and then two. And then here on the back, you've got some really great artwork of just different Bruce doing different stances and stuff. And then, of course, flip it over and you've got all the discs. This is 7 discs, which is just crazy. But it's got, yeah, like I said, it's got Big Boss, Fist of Fury, Way of the Dragon, Enter the Dragon, Game of Death, and then discs 6 and 7 are special features. A lot of it says supplements, but you know, it's got a lot of other really cool stuff. I want to say Tower of Death or Game of Death 2 is on disc 7. I always forget. Anytime I feel like watching Tower of Death, I literally do this every single time. I put the wrong disc in because I keep forgetting if it's on 6 or 7. So yeah, I'm probably wrong when I say I think it's on disc 7, but I make that mistake every time I feel like watching Tower of Death. But yeah, that is the that is the discs and just the look of the box set. The special features on this are great. This has so many special features. This was like I said earlier, this was my favorite release of 2020. Anyone who is a Bruce Lee fan, you need to get this. I don't know how much it costs on Amazon right now. I don't know if it went up to the original $125 price, but if it's not, or even if it is, and you guys can manage the price, I definitely recommend you pick this up because it looks great. It's got all of his movies, and it has so many special features. I'm not going to read all of this to you guys because, as you can see, there is a lot of details, a lot of special features on here. But I will go over like some of the like really important stuff. This set has over 500 minutes of footage. It like even says right there, 506 minutes. So yeah, there's a lot of footage. Also, side note, it came with a little magazine. It was just like a very old, like 70s style magazine about Kung Fu, and it was about Bruce Lee. I don't have the magazine on me, and you guys are probably gonna hate me for this, but I actually cut it up, or I had my wife cut it up, and we put some of it on my wall of fame back here. It's not really a wall of fame, but if you guys look at that Bruce Lee picture right there of him from Enter the Dragon, that's from the magazine. It was a fold-out poster. And so I really wanted to put that on my wall. When I started the podcast and I was getting my studio built, I really wanted to have some Bruce Lee stuff on the wall because I do have a couple of posters, as you can see, and then I have that portrait. The glare of my light is shining on the Bruce Lee picture, but it's just a picture of him from Enter the Dragon doing that sidekick. But I really wanted to have some other Bruce Lee stuff on here, so I had my wife cut that magazine up. Again, I'm sorry I can't show it to you guys, but that Bruce Lee poster's from the magazine, as well as the one in the middle right there, right next to it. That you guys can't see it obviously, but that is an ad for to learn the deadly secrets of Kung Fu. I love stuff like that. I think it was really cool. I was flipping through the magazine and then I saw that ad. It's got Jim Kelly on it, obviously from Enter the Dragon, and it says like learn the deadly secrets of Kung Fu. Sign up and get a free brochure, that kind of thing. I thought that was really cool. But yeah, that stuff came from the magazine that was in here. But aside from that, I've got a lot of other really cool special features. First off, this all 5 movies, Big Boss, Fist of Fury, Way of the Dragon, Game of Death, they're all 4K digital restorations. Sorry, and these movies look great. Like I remember as a kid growing up, I had all of Bruce's films on VHS. I watched them constantly, but the presentation, like overall presentation of them, it wasn't that good. It was very grainy, and but this was late 90s, early 2000s, so it was DVDs weren't quite a thing. I remember when DVDs became a thing actually, and but yeah, it just didn't look great, and a lot of sometimes footage was missing. Like I remember one of the things that stuck out to me the most is when I would watch Fist of Fury. There's a shot after Bruce fights all the guys in the judo dojo, like he has the nunchucks, and the I forget his name, Yoshida. Yeah, Yoshida was like one of the teachers of the judo school, and he's gonna take Bruce on himself, and Bruce is still holding the nunchucks. Bruce, he takes the nunchucks and then throws them to the side. But when I would watch the VHS, again, the presentation wasn't very good and some of the footage was missing. So it's he's holding the nunchucks, and then next thing you know, it kind of cuts, and then his arm is like just throwing them, even though you didn't see him actually do it. It's just like, it starts like this, and then it's just, it was really funny. But yeah, this fixes a lot of that. Nothing is missing, but it also has but yeah, like I said, those 5 films are in 4K digital restoration. And then it also has a new 2K digital restoration of the rarely seen 99-minute 1973 theatrical version of Enter the Dragon with uncompressed original monorail soundtrack. I had the theatrical version of Enter the Dragon on VHS, and I also had the extended version on DVD. But once I got this, I sold that one. But it also has it has a new 2K digital restoration of the 102-minute special edition version of Enter the Dragon. That's the one I had just mentioned. Also has alternate soundtracks for the films, including original English dub tracks, which I watch all these movies in English because, again, nostalgia. It's very much alive when it comes to these, and they're really fun to watch, and the voice acting is entertaining. I've talked about this before on the podcast, but English dubs for me, if you're watching a movie, an old kung fu movie, and it's like from the 70s or even the 80s, and even kind of into the 90s, those English dubs, most of them are bad, but most of them are entertaining. And I happen to think that the English dubs in these movies are actually pretty good when you compare it to a lot of the more modern stuff you see these days. But I'm not gonna harp on that. Moving on, it has 6 audio commentaries on The Big Boss by Bruce Lee expert Brandon Bentley, who's a really awesome guy. These commentary tracks are great, and it also has commentaries by Hong Kong film expert Mike Leader, who is also a really great guy. It has a high definition presentation of the 1981 film Game of Death 2, or Tower of Death, like I said, and that looks really good too. It doesn't look quite as good as the presentation of the other films, but it does look pretty solid. I remember seeing Game of Death 2 like on a pretty cheap DVD when I was a kid, and it didn't look terrible. But it actually looks pretty good, and it also has Game of Death Redux, a new presentation of Lee's original Game of Death footage produced by Alan Canbin. That's what I was talking about earlier. That it has the original footage that Bruce shot for Game of Death, and it uses like the music from the 1978 Game of Death, and some of the rearrangement. They rearranged some of the scenes. Sorry, that's what I meant to say. They rearranged some of the footage and stuff like that, and kind of trim it down and make it a little faster paced. But that's really interesting to watch, and it has new interviews on all 5 films with Lee biographer Matthew Polly. He wrote I'm probably gonna forget the name of the book. I believe it's called Bruce Lee: A Life. It was a biography from a couple years ago. Each movie has an interview with him, and he talks about how the film was made, where Bruce Lee was at his like what point Bruce Lee was in his career, and just like how the movie came about, how each movie came to life and stuff like that, and it also has a new interview with producer Andre Morgan about Golden Harvest, the company behind Hong Kong's top martial arts stars, including Lee. Jackie Chan was also one of them. That's a very good interview. It has one of the things that one of the features on here that I really liked was it has a new interview with author Grady Hendrix about the Bruceploitation subgenre that followed Lee's death, and a selection of Bruceploitation trailers. I have to admit, I'm not much of a Bruceploitation guy. I've seen some Bruceploitation films. I remember there's actually one, it's called Bruce Lee Superstar. That stars Bruce Lee. And I remember I watched that movie several times, and it's a Bruceploitation film, just a fictional account of Bruce's life, even though pretty much everything that happens in that movie, there's no account of that happening for real in Bruce's life. But I remember I watched that quite a few times. But outside of that, I was never really a fan of Bruceploitation. There are a lot of people out there who really like Bruceploitation, and that's great. I can respect that. I really can. But I was just never really a fan of it. But the interview with Grady Hendrix, where he talks about Bruceploitation, it's very fascinating. And he talks about how Bruceploitation got its start, and then how it just really blew up after Bruce passed away. it's a very fascinating interview. And then, you know, speaking of interviews, it has a ton of other ones with people who worked with Bruce. It has interviews with his widow Linda, but it's got interviews with a lot of actors who worked with him in different movies. Like it's got interviews with John Ben, who was the mob boss in Way of the Dragon, or with Riki Hashimoto, who played Suzuki in Fist of Fury. It's got an interview with Norm Meow, who was in 3 of Bruce Lee's films: Big Boss, Fist of Fury, and Way of the Dragon. And it also has a lot of promotional materials. It's got a lot of different trailers and like for each movie, and different still images and pictures and stuff like that for each film. And it also has an essay by critic Jeff Chang, which was in the magazine that I mangled for my wall. But yeah, overall, like that's just like some of the really big stuff that's on here. And it also has I must also add, it has a 2004 documentary about the making of Enter the Dragon called Blood and Steel. I've seen that interview before. It is very interesting. You learn a lot about the stuff that happened when Enter the Dragon was being made. There's a lot of crazy stories in there about, you know, Bruce got bit by a cobra, because everybody knows the scene where he grabs the cobra and he uses it to sneak into the underground lair. Whenever he filmed his fight with Bob Wall, there's an interview on here with Bob Wall as well, rest in peace. They talk about whenever Bruce was fighting Bob Wall's character in Enter the Dragon, Bob Wall's character picks up 2 glass bottles and Bruce cut his hand, and it was pretty bad too. I don't know this for sure, but I believe it got infected at one point probably, but his hand was really swollen and it was bandaged up for a while. But that's a really great documentary. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That is Bruce Lee, his greatest hits from the Criterion Collection. I'm going to leave a link in the description to get to the Criterion website so that you can order this if you guys are interested in checking it out. A couple of other things I wanted to add before we go. Anyone who follows me on social media already knows this, but I recently started a Patreon. So yay. Any of you guys who are interested in contributing to our Patreon, I'm going to leave a link to that as well. It currently has 3 tiers. I wanted to name the tiers because, you know, people do stuff like that. But the first tier, the tiers start at $3. There's our first disciple tier, which is $3, obviously. That'll get you guys access to exclusive Patreon live streams, live streams that you can only see on Patreon. I'm going to be doing live streams mainly to give like my initial thoughts on certain movies whenever I watch them for the first time. It won't be just kung fu movies either, and it's gonna be a lot of stuff. I recently saw The Batman earlier this week, and wow, it was so good. I loved it. That's all I'm gonna say right now. That's all I'm gonna say. I loved it. I might do but yeah, that's just an example right there. I'll do a live stream on what I thought about The Batman. I thought it was pretty awesome. But yeah, it'll be just on not just kung fu movies, but just movies in general. If there's a new movie I'm curious about, I'll check that out. You know, just so you guys can hear me talk about something that's not a kung fu movie. If you guys are just wondering what I think about something different, I love Jim Carrey. You know, so if I see the new Sonic film, I'll talk about how I felt about it, or how I felt about Jim Carrey's performance, you know, that sort of thing. But I'll also do like Q&As or just open discussions about stuff. Or if I have a story I want to tell you guys about, you know, about my days as a kid watching kung fu movies, or whenever I studied kung fu as a kid. Yeah, I'll do stuff like that too. But yeah, that's the $3 disciple tier. My second tier is the master tier, which is $5. That will you'll get access to the exclusive live streams, and you also get early access to videos like this one. Yeah, when I do YouTube videos, it's usually either just unboxings or Blu-ray/DVD reviews. But yeah, if you're on the master tier or if you're subscribed to the master tier on my Patreon, you'll get a one week early access to videos just like this one. And then lastly, there is the Grandmaster tier, which is $7 a month, If you guys subscribe to the Grandmaster tier, you'll get the access to the live streams, you'll get 1 week early access to videos like this, and you'll also get a shout out on my podcast, Kaleb's Kung Fu Cinema, my bi-weekly podcast where I cover all your favorite martial arts films. But yeah, if you subscribe to the Grandmaster tier, you're gonna get a shout out on the podcast as well as, you know, all those other things that I mentioned. So yeah, once again, I'm gonna leave a link in the description. If you guys are willing to contribute to that, I highly appreciate it. I appreciate it very much. And even if you can't contribute, I appreciate it anyway because you're being supportive in one way or another. So yeah, check that out if you guys want to contribute. Again, thank you so much for that. As always, I'll leave a link to my social media accounts and stuff like that, as well as the various platforms that you can find my my podcast on. Once again, I'm sorry, guys. I'm a little rusty, I guess. I haven't done this in a couple weeks. But yeah, once again, I am Kaleb, your favorite Kung Fu fanatic. I host a podcast called Kaleb's Kung Fu Cinema. I talk about all things Kung Fu and martial arts action and stuff like that. So, yeah. That's it for today. Thanks a lot for checking this video out. Once again, I am sorry that I haven't been posting very consistently, but I do have more videos coming up after this. I'm going to be doing a comparison video very soon on Jackie Chan's The Protector. You guys probably remember I did an unboxing of that recently. That movie is fascinating. I really enjoyed watching both cuts, and I'm going to do a comparison very soon. I'll just talk about the US cut and the Hong Kong cut, which is Jackie Chan's re-edited version. I'm also going to do a Blu-ray review of I'm still trying to decide which one. I could do all three of them if I wanted to, which I probably will end up doing that, but I'm going to have another Blu-ray review pretty soon. I'll probably do that on either my Police Story box set. It's also from Criterion Collection. It's Police Story 1 and 2. Or I also have my Arrow Shawscope set and my Cinematic Vengeance set from Eureka Entertainment. I would definitely like to do videos on all of those. And, excuse me, I probably will. Probably will. So yeah, that's it for today, guys. Thanks, as always, for tuning into the video. And don't forget to check out my podcast. It's available on pretty much every major platform. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. You know, share the video, hit the bell, all that good stuff. But yeah, that's it, guys. Thank you, and I will see you in the next video. That's right, I completely forgot. Oh man, okay, yeah. Our most recent episode on Kaleb's Kung Fu Cinema was about Fistful of Vengeance, the new Netflix film. So you guys check out that episode. You guys could have checked it out anyway if you just hit the link in the description. But I just realized that I didn't mention that. But yeah, our most recent episode was on Fistful of Vengeance, and the next one is going to be out on March 19th. We're getting back to the classics. We're going to talk about Flying Guillotine. Hell yeah, I love Flying Guillotine. It's a great movie. So yeah, check out the podcast. Listen to our most recent episode on Fistful of Vengeance. There's a whole lot of other episodes you can check out as well. And don't forget to keep an eye out for the March 19th episode where we talk about Flying Guillotine. So yeah, that's it. This is really it. So thanks a lot, guys. I really appreciate it. I'll see you guys soon.